Hello, welcome to another episode 13 of Consequences of Beauty. I am your humble host, Desiree Monet, and if you are new here, my sun is in Libra, Virgo rising, and Sag moon. And this is just for my astrology girls, so you can kind of get to know me a little better. But anyway, this podcast is based completely around self-development. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly. It's never spiteful, any of the information that I'm giving or talking about, but it's a little bit of tea sometimes. But anyway, there's so much I want to talk to you guys today about in terms of social media dating, workplace turmoil, holistic medicine versus the traditional medicine, and also what the hell is going on in the cosmos? What the hell is a retrograde? We'll get all into that a little bit further into the podcast. So go ahead and get comfortable, get your water, get your tea, get your libations going. I have water. Yes, I have water right now because I'm working on my skin. So if you see me drinking it from time to time, just go with it. If I'm drinking, you're drinking. How about that? Anyway, go ahead and get comfy. I'm in my new space. So this is going to be fun. I'm really going to enjoy this episode and I hope you enjoy it too. So let's go ahead and get started. So online dating has been this weird kind of space for me to navigate. I was in a long-term relationship about four or 5 years back. So I'm pretty new to the dating space. And dating online is very normalized at this point, but I haven't really got into it. I actually kind of wanted to really go down the rabbit hole to see what, people considered online dating, because I really thought it was just apps. But to my humble surprise, it's actually dating on TikTok, like talking to people, getting to know people in DMs on Instagram. It's a little bit of that happening, I'm sure, on TikTok, but I think for the most part, it's really happening on Instagram. So I'm not really a proponent of Instagram just because it's so fleeting and super swipe left, swipe right kind of vibes. And I have been on a dating app. I actually did a social experiment during October of 2023, I believe. And during that time, I decided that I would just get on the app to really see kind of, what it was about, kind of fill it out, and, just kind of see what the app does. I'm an app girl. I'm a social media creative strategist. So I love being on the apps just to understand kind of the culture that's going on. And just kind of, mix and mingle. I am a Libra sun, so I do enjoy being social for certain reasons in certain settings. So anyway, so just being on that platform, I didn't really take it seriously. I just kind of wanted to see what it was like, how I could catch a fish, if you will, by the certain things that I was posting and just kind of understanding how people made their connections on those platforms. Then I started catching some fish that were kind of sounding a little more serious than I was. So I kind of had to switch gears to make sure I wasn't, ignoring something that could have potential. I think they could sense that I wasn't really, into them like that. That's the reason why anyway, long story short, that didn't end well. Most of those situationships, and I call them situationships, they were only... they lasted about I think the longest one lasted about 3 weeks. I mean, just men don't have the stamina to really date, especially in this economy. So I kind of do give them a small break, but not much. But anyway, so in saying that, I had to invest a little bit of my emotions into the space. Nothing else happened. I may have gone on a couple dates. I matched with a lot of people, talked with a lot of people, but I didn't go on a lot of dates just because I didn't really understand, the protocol. Should I be running out to a date as soon as I meet you on the app? Like, for me, I didn't think that was the smartest nor safest thing to do, just because I've seen crazy TikToks about girls getting abducted and criminal stories and what are they called? The investigators of, homicides and stuff like that. They ask the criminals how they got their victims, and I've heard a lot about they are finding their victims on dating apps. So definitely pushed back from the dating apps in October, December, gave it a break and kind of considered, well, what about Instagram? Instagram is a little bit more friendly just because you can see a lot of the person's history by what they've chosen to post. So anyway, so I kind of gave dating on social media a bit of a try just because, to be honest, I wanted to see if there was a difference. I'm not really crazy about finding a husband and like, oh, I gotta run down, on somebody real quick. It's just more so focused on, does this make sense for me right now? So anyway, a lot of the situations I kept coming across, mind you, I had just come out of a long-term relationship and I was more so focused on the same dating tactics that I had when I first started dating my ex. I would think I was about like 21 when I first started dating him. So, girl, we're not gonna get into that, but there's some tea there. Anyway, so coming out of that relationship and getting back into the dating space, I was like, this is ghetto, but we'll try it out because we don't really have any other choice if you do want to eventually partner up with someone. So, re-entered the space a little bit on Instagram, and I decided to approach it like, if I meet you out somewhere, I'll give you my Instagram, we'll talk via Instagram. Because when you give someone your telephone number, for one, they can find your government with your telephone number, and kind of, you can get a lot more personal information from a telephone number, in my opinion. Instagram is, the information's out there, you want people to see that. But anyway, so in this dating space, I've been taking breaks because, to be honest, men are exhausting. I love y'all, but y'all are exhausting. And the reasons are as following. No, I'm kidding. But some of the things I experienced, I had to like assess, like, am I creating these situations? Am I nurturing men too much? Am I doing things that are triggering these men to do the opposite of what I want them to do? So I had to do a lot of self-reflection and figure out if it was me, because this is what this podcast is about. This is what this space is about. And this is where I am in my life. This is consistently where I am, is like really self-evaluating and figuring out, am I the problem? Usually I'm not, but whatever. So in saying that, there were a few things that, when I started having conversations with my girlfriends, when I started kind of like scrolling on TikTok, and like, there's a whole space on TikTok where they're discussing different, dating experience and things of that nature. But if you think that I'm, if you need more context around what I'm referring to, I'll go ahead and put this video up of an outing. I think it's like maybe a week or two back. And I'll let you see the vibe that I was on that night. I'm gonna just let you see it.
I met a gypsy and she hit me to some life game to stimulate and activate the left and right brain. Say, baby boy, you only funky at your last cut. You focus on the past, your ass to be your hands what. That's one to live by, or either that's one to die to. I try to just show it at you, determine your own adventure, Andre. Got to a station, here's my destination. She got off the bus, the conversation lingered in my head for hours. Took a shower, kind of
so,
my favorite group.
So you get the vibe. Like, I had on the same hat, and I was cooling. So if I meet somebody out where I'm really relaxed, I'm out with friends, I'm just in the moment to have fun with my people, I'll be open to seeing, if somebody pull up on me, because I don't chase, man, I'm too grown for that. So in saying that, there was a gentleman who did approach me. That entire interaction, I already knew that it was gonna go absolutely nowhere. When I say absolutely nowhere, I made a conscious decision to be like, we just gonna kick the shit right now and just kind of talk. But he doesn't really have a conversation. He's just trying to get my number so he can pull up on me, or whatever. I get it. I understand what the lay of the land is at this point. So that's why I only gave him my Instagram. So I'm gonna do a screenshot of my DMs, and I'm just gonna put it up because I want you to see what, like, in real time, the things that I and other women have to unfortunately deal with. And here it is. Here we go. He sent me a picture of myself. So when men do that, there's a little annoying to me because they'll send me a picture of myself, especially if I don't have the same hair color. Like, they like that picture, so they want to see me like that. But I'm currently like this. So I don't like when men do that. Don't do that. That's rude. But anyway, so he sends me this video, and I'll play the video now. Mind you, I met him at that event that I just showed you, and he didn't message or anything like that for maybe like 3-4 days, and then I get this message. So this kind of energy, you see, this kind of energy is for boyfriends, for fiancés, for husbands. Like, you're not gonna get all of that. And I just met you. Like, mind you, I really don't even know his real name because it was so loud in the establishment. So I don't know your name, and you've decided that you want to hit me with this. So you see the setup? Like, it's weird. Like, it's like, this is your courtship. This is how you interact with women, basically, because I'm not the first and I'm probably not the last, but it's fine. So I responded. You see how I responded? I said, what is this supposed to mean? Because I was thrown off. Like, I don't know you, sir. So I don't know why you think that you should be getting this type of energy from me, but whatever. And then he said, it's a meme when you lonely. And I'm just like, brother, mind you, he's 6'5", so that's why I gave him a little bit of a chance. He's tall as hell. But anyway, I'm 5'10", by the way. But in saying that, the fact that you said, I'm triggered now because you said I'm lonely. And for me, that's like, there's an undertone of call me when you're lonely, or hit me up if you don't have anybody else to hit up. I don't want anything else. I just want that. Because you sent me, mind you, I'm just putting together the pieces that you've sent over. So you see how dry this conversation is. So I may be overthinking it, but it's also for me to protect my space because you can kind of tell what type of man. Again, I started the story with, he wasn't really on nothing anyway. But I didn't like the fact he's like, when you lonely. Because I have things to do. I like my life. I enjoy my singledom. Whether I have 70 men on the roster or 2 on the roster. That's a little bold, but it's fine for now. And then I had to clap back because of course I told you I felt a little way. I said, what makes you think I get lonely? He says, I don't, LOL, I don't, IDK. It's a gesture. And I'm like, it's a gesture? Like, what is the gesture that we can cuddle anytime? Sir, I don't know you. What are you talking about cuddling? How did we get to cuddling? How? I haven't had a conversation with you. Like, if I need a warm body, I'll get a dog. And I digress. Anyway, so you see how I finished off the conversation, and then he just said something weird and just disconnect from there because we don't have anything to talk about. So I've been trying to figure out what are these issues that men are dealing with, because I'm not a man and I don't have a lot of male friends that tell me about their various dating things. So I did a little research, and I really wanted to understand why men have such short attention spans, or just lack thereof of real they just don't have conversation. And it's quite frustrating. So some of the things that I came across is that they have fear of commitment, which is normal. But when you get into your 30s, I would assume that that's past. Just because your 20s, you're still figuring out yourself, still figuring out your life, if you're doing it right. So once you get to 30, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense for you to not be at least halfway figured it out. But anyway, I digress. Also, option overload. And I do know that, like, he probably sent that picture to a bunch of girls on Instagram, or that's something he has in his arsenal that, you know, he probably sends out to a couple of girls to see their reaction, and he's gonna probably go with the most positive reaction. It's normal. It's the game that, you know, that we play, or some people play. I don't have time. I got stuff to do. I got projects to work on, so I don't have time to be playing with niggas in a DM. But anyway, also, on the list that I came across also stated that, like, changing priorities. And that does make a lot of sense because, you know, people in their 30s, close to their 40s, they may shift, you know, just because of different aspects in their life. They may be getting more career focused, or they may be getting into the space where they want children but don't want the marriage aspect. Like, a lot of people are deciding to live their lives in whatever, you know, shape or form that they are interested in. But I had to start taking that into account, not giving them a pass, but not taking it so personally when it's so fleeting, when it's so like, there's no, why are you bothering me if you don't want nothing? That's kind of the energy, but whatever. But anyway, a few others which kind of make more sense to me is that, you know, their past relationship experiences weren't the greatest, or they never really experienced love in that kind of capacity in their dating experience. In my long-term relationship, I did at certain points, especially the beginning, but it was more of love bomb. I got love bombed for like maybe like 2 years, and then it just kind of switched after about 3 to 4, and then it kind of trailed off. But I was young, I didn't know enough. He was much older. There's a slight tad bit of grooming that was kind of in there. Young girl dating older men. We all know, you know, that whole scenario. But, you know, you live, you learn, and you move on, and you find better. But anyway, the last one, which leads into the last one, is personal issues. Like, I think, like, a lot of times men don't recognize that they have anxiety around either dating or supporting their mate, because, you know, they're told from, you know, childhood, they're supposed to be providers and they're also supposed to be protectors, and they just have those two jobs, and they don't have feelings. They just work all the time, and they're just focused on making sure their family unit is solid, which I respect. But when do your emotions come in? When do you, you know, get in touch with yourself? Long story short, knowing yourself. And I don't think a lot of men like really know themselves like women know themselves, because we're trained to know ourselves from a young age of, like, you know, outside of potty training. I think that's when guys stop listening to their body. After they get, you know, potty trained and they know when they're hungry, I think they just kind of move forward in life just from there. But in terms of women, you have to know when your cycle is about to come on. Also, like, you know, if you're in a bad mood, is it because of your cycle? Like, you're just trained as a woman to know these things at an early age and really pay attention to yourself and your body. Especially if you have a really involved mom. Just learning hygiene and things of that nature. I know that I had a really hands-on about, you know, the process of like how your body changes, but my mother's also in the medical field, so I definitely probably got a little bit of, you know, her work experience or career experience as just kind of life lessons. But I digress. Only reason why I bring that up is the laundry list of things that I've seen. I know that women do experience some of these things, but I think for the most part, as a collective, I feel like women have, you know, taken the time to go to therapy, to figure out what they want in life, to have those really introspective moments, to sit with themselves and decide who they are, and what they want to do. I don't think that the male collective has done that as of yet. I think they're in the process of that, because as a collective, women have decided to not date, have sex, get married, or have kids with men that aren't emotionally available in the same capacity that they are. I think the older, I won't even say older millennials, like middle-aged millennials, like in their 30s, have like really decided that they're just like, I'm happy single. I'm personally happy single. I really enjoy my time. I really enjoy doing certain things. I'm an outdoorsy kind of person. I love going on hikes. I love going to the beach. I love being out and having, crazy experiences. But it's taken me time to like understand that and learn that, especially after living in LA for 10 years as a professional dancer. So me moving in that space for that long, and I'll be short about that topic, but it's just, I learned myself a lot just being in LA on this journey of pursuing dance and pursuing the things that I like to do. And I did that the tail end of my 20s into my 30s. So at this point, I know exactly what I want and what I like and what I don't like, and I don't mince words when it comes to that. So anyway, we're gonna take a quick little break because I need some water, and I want to go ahead and jump into the next topic because I'm super happy with the space in life that I'm currently in, but I'm comfortable in my space. I'm happy in my creative space, but now I'm back in the working kind of 9-to-5 space. And it's very different from the creative, entrepreneurial world, especially with being slightly an influencer. I say that lightly, but more so being a creative, being a freelancer for most of my time here in LA. It's two different worlds. It's two different mindsets. And the corporate machine is the corporate machine. And if you can get out of it because the paradigm is changing and the corporate capitalism environment is going away. Like, no, there are too many ways to make money these days for that to be the only option. I'll say that. So we'll go ahead and jump into the topic after this brief little intermission.
Forgiveness does not mean we pick back up, and doesn't mean that we converse. It doesn't mean it looks like yesterday, and it doesn't mean that a person is granted access again. Forgiveness means a deliberate decision to release feelings of resentment or vengeance towards a person. I've walked away from it with clean hands and a clean heart, but the way the situation affected me has made me look at others differently. Therefore, it is impossible for me to proceed like yesterday. There are levels to every situation. Therefore, I'm walking away knowing I conducted myself reasonably, but connecting is unreasonable, and I don't care how it is perceived afterwards. Forgiveness is for me. Therefore, in order to continue this protection, I must set a boundary. I can still have love for you. I can wish you the very best after our departure, but things won't be the same, and that's on that.
So where we left off, we were getting into the conversation around workplace turmoil, corporate America specifically. And it's interesting coming back into the space after being an independent contractor, freelancer, working on my own things for years, and to come into the corporate space, humble myself and come into the corporate space and experience so much workplace turmoil. And it was a little jarring, I will be honest, when I came back into the space, just because I had spent so much time away from people and spent so much time in therapy, working on things, identifying my triggers, understanding how to cope with certain things, and just really holding myself accountable for my own emotions and my own quirks. So going into the space, not naively, what's the term? In a very naive way, I made assumptions that other people had done the same thing during the same time. And it was kind of, a little confusing for me or it was kind of hard for me to process. That's a better statement. It was hard for me to process that, we had went through a global pandemic. So many people passed away. It was so much uncertainty. It was so much fear that was, being broadcast through the news, through the internet, through just conversations with people around you. So much misinformation, that it should have forced you to go inward, to find solitude, to find, some peace, because it was so chaotic during that time. There was so much unrest, civil unrest during those 2-3 years. It's still a little bit now, but we're kind of used to it. We're kind of desensitized. But in saying that and going back into the corporate space, I didn't realize that there were so many people that just kind of put their heads down and just worked, just put their head in the sand, ignored everything. I'm assuming they ignored how they felt, like to the point where they didn't deal with it. I'm sure they felt whatever kind of way, but at the same time, I didn't think that people weren't dealing with their shit. Because it was just so many resources. It was so much stuff up in the air. It was just such an opportune time if you were able to insulate yourself to do a lot of growth and self-reflection and then come back into the world a better person. That was my, kumbaya, we are the world kind of vibe. But going back into the corporate space, I was, really awakened that was not the case. And I was very open. I was very and when you're really open with people that are not aware of themselves, their stuff becomes your stuff. And when you push that back on them, or say, no, this is yours, you keep it, that's for you, you have to work that out, they tend to get offended. They tend to get a little bit curt, that you aren't playing into their either victimhood or them being a bully, or just whatever trauma that they're cycling through their mind. You have to now become a part of it. And after going through therapy, after finding the tools, after being able to identify, is this my stuff or is this your stuff, and getting pretty good at that, coming back into the corporate space and being around people that can't actively do that was very jarring. And I understand now why workplace turmoil occurs, just because not everybody is as self-aware. Don't get me wrong, I'm not Gandhi, I'm not Mother Teresa, I'm none of those people, but I do have an awareness of myself and my history and my emotions. I can identify all of them. I can be very specific about that. And in saying that, being in the space, I had to really learn how to recognize it, because I've worked with people who ignore all of the chaos until it comes to them. And then once it comes to them, they're just like, oh, I didn't realize it was this. But I'm like, you have to recognize and just sit back and watch the people that are around you so you can understand the lay of the land and the people that you are going to be involved with on a daily basis. So just as a helpful guide of navigating those spaces, I just wanted to give you guys just a quick little list. And I may put it up on the screen. I may not. I'll probably put it up on the screen of just a few ways to deal with difficult colleagues or supervisors, because we can't get around it. Not everybody went to therapy. Not everybody is doing the work. Even if they don't go to therapy, they're not, not everybody has the will to take a deep dive within themselves and look at their dark side. I know what my dark side looks like. I've come to the conclusion that they're just going to, my light and my dark side are just going to be one. You can't exist really without the other. Dark and light, they exist. Not to get super into the astrology conversation just yet, but light can't exist without dark and vice versa. So I'll just say that. So anyway, So the first thing that I wanted to kind of talk about is just staying calm in the moment. Like, there's this great therapist that I came across on TikTok. Shout out to TikTok. That made a statement. She no longer is going to be working with men because the men that she keeps coming across are activating her nervous system. And when she said that phrase, that like aligned my chakras. Like, that was like, you put that so succinctly of what that experience is when you start to get frustrated, when you start to get triggered, when you start to feel hot. Because again, I have a Sag moon. I'm spicy when I'm mad. Spicy. So when I feel that little, heartburn, little, vibrating here, I'm just like, cool down, cool down, cool down. Because also, I'm from the Midwest. When I get like that, when I start feeling away, it's because I've been trained. I grew up in the hood, let's be honest. I went to a county public school, really, really great school, but I lived in the hood. It is what it is. And when someone gets upset, generally, especially if like it's words, there are usually hands that come after that. Like you don't talk mess unless you're ready to rumble. So I don't really talk mess unless I'm ready to rumble. So for me, when people get into that space of, talking aggressively or speaking in a certain tone, it triggers me like, oh, we're about to fight. But of course, people in LA don't fight. That's not a thing here. Unless you go south of the 10, then that's a different conversation. But for the most part, people don't fight. So I had to learn, again, this is self-reflection. I had to understand that like my trigger is when I hear certain tones or things said in a certain way, my body's natural reaction is to think that there is going to be some physical altercation occurring very shortly after the conversation, if not during the conversation. So for me, staying calm so I can assess what's happening is a great tool in my arsenal. So I have to give you guys my own experience to maybe give a little color around staying calm in these places in the workplace, because these are people that you're dealing with and they have various backgrounds as well. So just taking in consideration where I'm from, this has been super helpful for when moments get really tense, for my nervous system not to be, triggered. So put that in your, handy dandy backpack, your Dora Explorer backpack, whatever you take with you on your journeys outside of your home. But anyway, also focus on the behavior and not the person. I used to teach kids for about 7 years, like an after school program, when I was dancing professionally. And that forced me to really focus on actions. And because kids are really programmable, if you will, up until a certain age. But, kids are very impressionable. So their actions come from their home space and the people that they're generally around. So I've learned to watch behaviors and, to see change behavior over time. It takes, 21 days to develop a habit. So I keep that in mind when I'm around, when I was teaching, to help kind of like steer the children in a better way of dealing with things. And in the workplace, it's no different. I feel like adults are just matured children. Like there's usually still children, their bodies just have matured, depending on how much, emotional work they've done on themselves. But anyway, so just focusing on their behavior and staying in that space and not getting caught up in tone too much, because some people sometimes autistic people can be seen as rude. So tone isn't necessarily a major factor, but tone and action, like things that people are doing, it's like, oh, you mean it this way because you're saying it this way and you're choosing these words and you're choosing these actions. So paying attention to their actual behaviors and addressing the behaviors first and then the emotions second. That's a huge huge cheat code that I've come across, especially when you start, talking about EEOC or HR and things of that nature. Like, they want to know the facts. They want to know what happened. They want to know what the actual actions are that led you to this place. So, super, super helpful just to kind of protect yourself and kind of keep yourself, on the up and up, if you understand what I'm saying. Next, once you have identified those behaviors, you set boundaries. And when I say set boundaries, like, I've had to really work on this as a Libra. It's just sometimes a people pleasing quality that comes through, and then also Virgo wanting to be really helpful. So and then Sag is really, friendly. Certain Saggies are either usually really friendly and playful and giggly, or really surly. I'm really playful. But I love my surly Saggies because they be having the words. They be cutting off necks. But anyway, so yeah, setting boundaries, setting hard boundaries. So for me, the boundaries that I set is like, you have to talk to me in a certain way, and like with respect. That's what the certain way is alluding to. You have to talk to me with some respect. You have to talk to me and not at me. There's a difference. Like, making commands and saying, no, we're a collaborative effort because it's a creative environment for me personally. But and just standing on it, because a lot of times people assume, you're either immature or you're young based off of, how you look, or sometimes how you present, and making these assumptions. But in LA, age isn't really a thing. LA is more about experience and wherewithal. New York is age and pedigree. Like, there's just subtle differences between the major cities. But again, set your boundaries and hold tight to them. Me specifically, you're not going to talk to me any kind of way. Talk to me with some respect. Talk to me, not at me. Anyway, so seek support. This is probably one of the scarier things to do in the workplace, because you don't know who's talking to who's friends with who's going to run back and tell. If they run back and tell, are they going to get the story right? So I would tread lightly on seeking support. I would probably recommend seeking support with outside entities that are in the business, or in similar fields. So anyway, also with seeking support, also document those interactions. If there's no documentation of it, you really don't have an argument. And that's whether you are being sued, whether you're suing someone, whether you have need to file a police report. I'm just saying in general, when you have to prove something, you have the burden of proof. So when you have these interactions and they're negative, or they're done in a certain kind of way, having like written documentation of the interaction is very, very important for the long run. And I'm be honest, like, it's usually every man for themselves when you're working in those type of environments. If it's between me and you, it's gonna be me, because it's self-preservation. This is how you pay your bills. This is how you maintain yourself in your life. So always, document everything just to protect yourself. Even if you don't think it's gonna go anywhere, still document it. Next, I would say practicing empathy is probably one of my hardest things to do with adults. I'm able to do it really, really easily with children, but with adults, I don't have as much patience, just because you're an adult and you generally have the tools and the access to not only mitigate situations, but you have access when you're an adult. The internet is right in your hands. You can Google these kind of things. So it's really hard for me to give empathy to adults in this day and age. In 2023 is really hard. And I'm working on that personally, but also that's a boundary that I've set because I know myself. So knowing when to escalate and when not to escalate. Like, is this a battle worth fighting? And I think the compassion comes in, or the empathy comes in, when you decide to put yourself in their shoes before you escalate. Like, where are they coming from? What are they thinking? And a lot of the times I have an issue sometimes with that, because it's like, that's not really my job to know where you're coming from, because I'm not in your body. I don't have your experiences. I don't know your workload. So having empathy is a tad bit of a struggle sometimes, but we're working on it. We're a work in progress. But I'm not going to give you more empathy than I give myself. Like, I'm not going to ignore myself for your own emotions and feelings. That's what's not going to happen. Because again, we're co-workers. You're not my child. I don't have to be emotionally available for you or emotionally supportive of you, because we're at work. Anyway, and last but not least, I've been saying this kind of the whole time. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. You know when your emotions are low. You know when your energy is low. And also know how other people affect you when you're in the space. So I've experienced a lot of energy vampires, and I can spot them. At this point, it's just like, I don't even say anything. It's just a natural reaction for me just to remove myself from the space. Because I've just experienced this so often. And what I mean by energy vampires is that they just want more and 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 more of you, and it's never enough. Let me say that again. It's never enough, and things are never good enough. Like, the person is never satisfied with the work that's being done. They always want more of your energy. They always want more of your focus. They want, all of you to be dedicated to them. I'm going to say that again. They want all of you, aka all of your time, all of your attention, all of your focus on them and their needs. And you better not change your energy level at any point in time. So when you start getting into that space with people, or that conversation comes up, you have to just adjust, maneuver, because there are only so many hours in the day. And especially with creativity, you don't want to kill the golden goose. I'll say that again. You don't want to kill the golden goose. And if you're familiar with the story, then you know what? If you're not familiar with the story, I'll just go down this little rabbit hole with you, and then we'll move on. But basically, the story is around a farmer who had a goose that one day started laying golden eggs, and he would get a golden egg every day. So he would get up in the morning, there would be a new egg. He got, frustrated or impatient after a while, and he just wanted all of the eggs. So what did he do? He chopped off the head of the goose to get more eggs. Just go directly to the source. We're not waiting. We're not giving it time. We're getting it immediately. Open the goose. No eggs. No eggs. No eggs. Now he's a dead goose and no extra eggs. You just shot yourself in the foot, sir. I don't know what to tell you. So, don't let the workspace kill you as the golden goose. I just want to say that. You have to replenish. You have to understand what makes you tick and what makes you inspired to keep going. Because creators tend to just give and give and give because they just love to create. But also there's a such thing as creative block and also being burnt out. And nobody can manage that but you. And that's just understanding like all of the things that I just kind of threw out there. Again, setting boundaries, staying calm in these, sometimes intense spaces. Focus on the behavior and not the person so that you can potentially address it later. Also documenting everything. Of course, practicing empathy because you don't know what's going on in people's lives, but also that doesn't negate your experience. So we're dynamic people. We're not simple. We are very, very, very dynamic. And I think that's missed on some people, but I digress. But also knowing when to escalate certain situations, when it's surpassed, like, oh, this is annoying, to, oh, this is illegal. It's sometimes a fine line, but it is what it is. And also, again, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. And the word no is definitely self-care, especially with the people pleasers, especially with the recovering overachievers. No is a very powerful statement. You can get a little zesty and put a period on the end. But no is very revolutionary because women, we already know we work fucking hard, and Black women, we work 2 times as hard. So just being in spaces, to be we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. Just know, take care of yourself, utilize the term no. Let's move on. Okay. So with this self-care kind of conversation, I'd actually like to kind of segue into holistic and herbal medicine that can help treat. Let's go with treat. Help treat any of the anxiety, any of the discomfort. Because living in LA, there's so many alternative lifestyles that you can engage in that whole communities are dedicated to. And I really love how progressive California is. It's one of the reasons why I moved here. And since my time in living here, I moved here in 2013, I saw cannabis go from illegal to medicinal to recreational, which it currently is. So like if you wanted to go and purchase anything that was in the cannabis family, you can literally, from any state, you can walk into a dispensary with your state ID, whether it's, I won't say that one because I don't like them people. I won't say I don't like Florida, but Florida, y'all look crazy right now. But anyway, an ID from maybe North Carolina, Missouri, Maine, whatever. You can take your ID into a dispensary and purchase whatever you like. So, but that's not the only thing. That's probably one of the main things that California is known for in terms of herbal treatments. There's also the supplements like the, what do you call them? They are like the ashwagandha. They're a specific type of supplement that help treat certain things. Like if you drink, ginger tea, ginger is great for inflammation and nausea. Lavender is great for calming. It has calming effects. So on and so forth. So there are a lot of people that tend to love to engage in just completely holistic. It came from the earth. We're going to use this. This is our medicine cabinet. And I really enjoy, kind of experimenting with myself. I like to tell my friends I'm an unofficial herbalist. And I've dabbled in a few things here and there, nothing crazy. And I definitely have seen the benefits of it, especially like CBD when I was dancing professionally. That was such a godsend because I was dancing for maybe like 6 to 7 hours a day. And that takes a toll on your body. It takes a toll on your muscles and your joints and things of that nature. And I would literally, just to share a story, I've had nights when I was dancing professionally where I would wake up at like 2, 3 in the morning with a Charlie horse. Like the Charlie horse is what actually woke me up out of my sleep, which is crazy to say. So, and it was just because the lack of hydration, but I was dancing so much, I was just sweating out a lot of my nutrients and my electrolytes. So your girl had Charlie horses, okay? And they was trash. They would wake me up at 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, and it would wake me up with my leg bending this way uncontrollably, because my muscles were spasming. But I digress. Also with holistic medicine, activities. So from yoga to hiking to Pilates to cycling, things of that nature, like to really like generate serotonin and endorphins, natural endorphins in the body, so you don't feel like you have to get them from some herbal medicine, because you don't want to get dependent on those kind of things. But you know, a lot of people do want to self-treat. So instead of going to your doctor and getting some crazy medicine, I don't know, I'm thinking of, this just popped in my head, AstraZeneca. And like when you watch the commercials, it's like they make it all happy-go-lucky, and there are people gallivanting through fields and all this other kind of stuff, making you feel like, oh, this is a great drug, I should try it. And then once you get to the end of the commercial, they just read off all of the side effects, and you forget actually what the medicine was for. So I'm not really a fan of prescription medicine, just because there's so many side effects, and just the nature of the medical field, that, you know, a lot of doctors I've encountered, they're just experimenting on you and they're just guessing. So I'd rather do my own research and guess on myself and decide how I feel in my body, and kind of go from there, because I'm very in tune with myself. So, and I think most women are. So if I need a little pick-me-up, I'll have some like a ginseng tea, or I'll have some reishi, or maca root powder, just some of the herbal supplements that, you know, you can kind of put in your tea to help give you a little pep in your step. But it's not like I'm resorting to coffee or energy drinks to give me that kick, because those are really, really hard on your system, and they're not natural. I mean, coffee is natural, but coffee in the United States, it's not the same, especially if you've had it outside of the country. Like if you go to Colombia, Guatemala, like the coffee there is like, oh my God, this is amazing. But the coffee here, and it's not as addicting, and you don't have to drink or add too much in it. I feel like a lot of times coffee here is just more addictive because you're putting all the syrups and sugars and sweeteners and stuff, all that in it. But I digress. So anyway, and speaking of this holistic space that I like to, you know, kind of live in, I read a lot of books, a lot of books. And the next book, or not the next book, the book I'm actually about to show you, it'll be in my Amazon storefront if you're interested, is called The Sacred Woman. I bought this book maybe 2020 when I was going through therapy. I mean, I'm still in therapy, but like when I first started the journey, because I wanted like a holistic, healthy mind, healthy body. And I kind of flipped through the book. It's very similar to what I was already doing. This is just more of a guidebook of like a specific practice, like almost like kind of like Bible vibes, but it's not a Bible of any sort. But it's just more so like a helpful manual. We'll call it a manual. But anyway, I haven't gone too in depth with it, but I've seen a few of, I believe her name is Queen Afu. I've seen a few interviews. She was on The Breakfast Club. I think she was on one other thing. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I do remember she was on The Breakfast Club and she was talking about the book. And I know a couple friends who got the book, and it just helped reset them. So I'm really excited to kind of get into this. If you would like to join me, go to my Amazon storefront, grab the book. We can have a side conversation about this, but I'm really interested because if I decide to have kids, I want a doula. What's up, Erica Badu? What's your rates? So if I do decide to have kids, I do want to have a natural birth. I have a pretty high pain tolerance, so we'll cross that bridge once we get there. But in terms of just like holistic and, you know, giving yourself and your body a fair shot to do what it naturally does, if you're in good health. And also, I am no doctor. I should have started with that, but I'll say it now. I am no doctor, and these are all experiments that I've been conducting on myself, but I do know my health, and I've always had relatively great health. I get sick maybe once or twice a year, and it's always been like that. So I'm more open to experimenting with various supplements and various practices just because I really do know my body. And when it's off, I know kind of immediately. So anyway, let me give you like a brief little overview of the book to not only refresh my own memory, but to kind of give y'all the tea, okay? So anyway, so The Sacred Woman was written by, of course, Queen Afu. I really hope I'm saying that correctly because that would be a chop if it's not. Anyway, and she basically explores the intersection of health, spirituality, self-care for women. The book is just a guide to reconnect you with ancient African traditions and practices, as well as contemporary holistic health practices to promote both mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. So she shares her personal journey towards healing and self-discovery, which, you know, again, this podcast we're centered on that, okay? So I'm just kind of like saggy energy, you know, wanting to spiritually explore certain things and, you know, become the best me that I can be. This is not really about anybody else other than myself, of like being the best person I can be, because me sitting in front of this camera was a journey to get here, to get to LA, to get to this point in my life. So, I'm always interested in the journey. It's not, what is the phrase? It's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And it's been a crazy ride, crazy ride, to say the least. I mean, if I could run back the stories and the scenarios that I've lived just in LA, hell, just in yesterday night, when you guys see this, it's probably like 2 or 3 days prior, but went to an event. You'll probably see it up on my IG feed. I went to a friend's birthday party, and it was kind of star-studded, but like it was just a vibe. It was just supposed to be, for me, I just want to go have a good time because I work hard, so I want to play just as hard. So I'll share that on my feed. Go ahead and follow. It'll be on Instagram. I don't know if I'll put it on TikTok because sometimes that's not the vibe on TikTok. But anyway, long story short, I just want to say, because I got off in a tangent, I just enjoy the journey. I enjoy a good rabbit hole. I enjoy, you know, the different esoteric mysteries that are out there and available to all of us. So, speaking of which, let's go ahead and jump into our fourth and final topic today. I don't want to talk off your ear too much, but let's go ahead and get straight into it. And the conversation is basically around Mercury retrograde. And Mercury retrograde will probably be occurring on either the day before or the day after this episode comes out. So the 20th or the 21st. And a lot of people confuse or conflate Mercury retrograde with, like, you know, things going backwards, things not working out, technology not working, and just basically surface level concepts. And it's a lot deeper than that. It is true that visually in the sky, it looks like Mercury is moving backwards instead of forward, but it's more so of an optical illusion, but we still feel the effects. So anyway, Mercury retrograde, or Mercury is in charge of, the planet is in charge of communication. So that's conversation, that's technology, that's transportation, like just it facilitates things, okay? So basically a retrograde is often seen when you really get into the meat and potatoes of it, is just a potential for introspection and reflection. Things will go wrong. They do say don't sign contracts because not everything is always clear. During that time, you want to double check and triple check. It's not that you can't do anything during that time. It's just you have to be more on your P's and Q's. You have to dot your I's and cross your T's, specifically during that time period, because it's so much, things that can go awry, and it does go awry. Again, Mercury is the planet of communications, and we just really advise that you're, really cautious about, making big decisions, having really big, intense conversations during that time, because information can be easily misconstrued. I would say at first I didn't believe it when I got into, because I'm like, oh, it's just, psychobabble, it's psychoanalyzing, you're telling yourself so it's going to happen. But after maybe like a few cycles of retrogrades, I learned. I learned. I'm like, I'm gonna slow down a little bit during this time. I'm not gonna feel forced to move things forward, because the universe is not wanting us to move as fast as we want to. It's actually trying to slow us down right now, but I digress. I'll go ahead and play a few of the Mercury retrograde video recaps that I came across on the interwebs, just to kind of give you a different vantage point. It's the same information, but sometimes when you hear it from another party, it makes a little bit more sense. So I'll go ahead and play it right now. Here we go.
The last couple months have been great because all planets have been direct. Now we're prepping for our first Mercury retrograde in April. That's April 21st. Mercury goes retrograde in Taurus. This is of course impacting my Taurus as well as my other fixed signs. That would be my Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, okay? We'll be feeling Mercury's retrograde April 7th. So you guys pay attention. Mercury retrograde impacts all of us because it's technology, communication, emails, computers, the internet, all that stuff, okay? Flight delays, it's travel also. Taurus is your money, okay? Taurus rules the second house. That's the house of value. It's a good time to reassess, review, redo, all the revisit your finances. What's your relationship with money looking like? Where do you need to make adjustments? Okay, do you need to get on a budget? At one point, Uranus will connect with Mercury retrograde. I always talk about Uranus, guys, the planet of shocks and surprises. So maybe that brings some windfalls, but that can also bring some unexpected debts too. There are benefits to Mercury retrograde, like friends popping up that you haven't heard from in a long time that you'd actually like to reconnect with, not just your exes, or finding a missing item, or even old business being completed, right? So if there's money that's owed to you out there, you get it. Or if there's some kind of deal or something that has kind of fallen through the cracks, maybe it gets brought back up on the table, all right? So it's nothing to fear, but it's best to be prepared.
So with that being said, getting into the astrology, I'll put a birth chart up, just a random chart. And basically you'll see like the numbers in the center. The numbers in the center are indicating the houses. And houses are basically, long story short, the different areas of your life. Whether it's partnership, friends, money, finances, da-da-da-da. So the current chart for just the world in general is in Taurus. So Mercury is in Taurus. It's in a specific area. So Taurus has characteristics and Mercury has characteristics. Tauruses are usually about luxury. They're about finances. about they love wealth, equity. Shout out to Allison. Anyway, so that's the focus. So when Mercury is in Taurus, because Mercury is about communication, is communication about money, about wealth, about equity, like those conversations. And when it's going in reverse, it's you taking the time to be introspective about that topic. I hope that made sense. I wanted to share one more video about the retrograde that we're currently in, or we're actually going into. So I'll go ahead and play it right now, and then we shall discuss. All right.
On Monday, April 3rd, Mercury is going to enter Taurus. And typically, Mercury only spends about 2 to 3 weeks in a particular sign, but we have to remember that we have a Mercury retrograde towards the end of this month, so Mercury will actually be in Taurus until mid-June. Something to note is that we started this year with a Mercury retrograde in Capricorn. This Mercury retrograde will be in Taurus, the next one will be in Virgo, and then there will be one in December that will be in Capricorn. So all Mercury retrogrades this year, which there is 4 of them, are all in Earth signs. So Mercury, the planet of communication, travel, and technology, is entering Taurus, which is ruled by Venus, the planet of love, money, career, relationship, beauty, and aesthetic. And anatomically, Taurus is the vocal cords, and Mercury is directly correlated with the throat chakra. So this is honestly one of my favorite placements. Maybe I'm biased because my Mercury is in Taurus, but this is how to prepare for this transit. Taurus is second house energy, which is really about security and finances and really giving yourself the life that you desire, because Taurus honestly desire luxury and comfort. So for the next 10-ish weeks, Mercury in Taurus is really inviting us to get comfortable having the uncomfortable conversations about what we actually desire. So let's take this time to slow down and be honest with ourselves.
So, as much information that is being thrown at you right now, just sit with it. Just sit with it. And if you don't take anything away from this full conversation, I would want you to leave here with the notion of not only just determining your value, like what do you really want? What do you really desire? Specifically like in your lifestyle, because your lifestyle is associated with your finances. It's hand in hand. So this is a great time to really go in depth and get in the nitty gritty, because the universe, the planets, they're lending themselves to help you figure this out. So they're lending the energy to you to figure it out. And if you're not already doing it, it's probably in some way, shape, or form going to force you to do it. I'm sorry, I don't make the rules. You are in the energy if you live on this planet, whether you are subscribed to any type of astrology sect. It's still going to affect you regardless. Like, I've tried to run away from Mercury retrogrades and cocoon myself, and it's not realistic. It's not. It's just being present, understanding what's happening, knowing yourself, all the stuff we talked about earlier when we were talking about how to recognize workplace turmoil. A lot of those skills you can use also in astrology. And if you understand what's happening in the cosmos, you can really understand how to navigate certain spaces. I'll say that again. If you understand what's going on in the cosmos and you understand yourself, going into the spaces where people don't understand themselves or understand the cosmos or anything I just mentioned, you can navigate those spaces so much easily and a lot more unbothered. And when I say unbothered, I'm talking about like Tay Diggs, unbothered. I'm talking about Omarion, unbothered. Even though Omarion is a little bothered, but it's not spiteful, just a little tea. You live in LA long enough, you'll get the tea. But anyway, yeah, just utilizing the tools that the universe has given us is clutch. When you figure out how these things work and how they work together, these are cheat codes. These are literally life cheat codes. Like, I don't have an older grandmother, elder that, can give me the game like some people can. So we do rely on certain resources, but let's be honest, grandma had these same tools and she was probably utilizing them the same way. So anyway, I will leave you with that. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me on episode 13. There are a lot more episodes coming after this. I will eventually start having guests here and there, some of my girlfriends, to really kind of go a little bit more in depth in some of these conversations. But I just wanted to come back and talk to you guys because it's been so long, and I missed us hanging out. I missed having these conversations. Please put down below, if you know your sun, moon, and rising, please put them below, because I would like to know who I'm talking to. If I have some like sister cousins, like sister signs that are, tuning in, I would love to know what your sun, moon, and rising is. And if you would like to go on this journey and discuss this a little bit further, we can maybe have a separate group, a private little group where we really go in depth if you don't want to talk about it in the comments, because I understand that this is a personal journey. I'm open to it just because I've been having this conversation about spirituality since probably about, I would say 2017, 2018. And the conversation has just, built and built and built to the point where I'm comfortable enough to even have these conversations with you guys. So let me know if you get the book. Again, it's going to be in my Amazon storefront if you're interested. And if you wanted to start maybe like a little group, nothing crazy, nothing cultish or anything like that. Just, a woman's book club. Let's keep it there. It's not too much. But anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this as much as I have. I am so excited for our future conversations because that was only a little bit of the tea. There was no spite in it at all. It was just a little bit of tea. I did have some water. I do admit that. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day whenever you are watching this episode here. Stay strong during this eclipse season. This eclipse season is gonna be crazy. We have a few that's coming up, some major ones that are basically gonna get your shit in order. The eclipse, I'm using that energy to relaunch this podcast. So I hope. And that's separate from Mercury retrograde. We'll get more into these topics, I promise you. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day or enjoy the rest of your night whenever you're watching this. And we'll see each other in our next episode. Bye, y'all.